Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make a vegetarian beef chow fun. Now I gotta be honest, I don't really cook a lot of vegetarian food, but there's one thing that I know, and is that if you want to learn how to make vegetarian food, it's probably better to learn from some guy who's been eating meat for a very long time. I mean, think about it, would you want to learn Kung Fu from a guy who teaches karate? Probably not. But if you're watching this and you're not a vegetarian, I'm going to teach you how to make chow ho fun properly. And you can apply this technique to making lo mein or any other type of stir-fried noodles. Alright, so let's get started. So here are some tips about making and choosing ho fun, okay? This is 500 grams, but I'm only going to be using 250 grams, which is enough to serve about 1 to 2 persons. Now, when I watch other videos and I read a lot of comments, and even for me, I get certain comments about noodles getting too sticky. Now, normally I use fresh ho fun noodles, which I buy from my local wet dry market, and those are made like the night before while I'm sleeping. While this packet of ho fun noodles was manufactured in some factory somewhere, as you can see, it's manufactured October 6th and expires December 4th. Now, the key to getting supermarket ho fun noodles is to get it as close as possible to the manufacturing date. Right now I'm filming on October 10th, so this packet of ho fun noodles is 4 days old, which should still be okay, because refrigerator stored ho fun noodles is better than no noodles at all. Make sure that it is nowhere near the expiration date, but if you can source out fresh chow fun noodles, do get the fresh ones. It'll make your life a lot easier. Now, if you find that these flat rice noodles are too stiff to work with, all you gotta do is just stick it into a microwave it on the lowest setting until the noodles are loose, and you should be okay. Okay, so next I'm going to show you the meat substitute. This is wheat gluten. If you look at it, it kind of has the texture of meat. And that is one key essential thing about these meat substitutes, is that for Chinese vegetarian cooking, not only does the taste have to be very close to the real thing, but also the texture and the look of the ingredients have to be very similar to meat. My aunt Lisa, who's the one who see me making these cooking videos, she's almost a lifelong vegetarian, and she used to have a vegetarian restaurant back in New York City. And one time she took me there, and I had like vegetarian roast pork, vegetarian lemon chicken, vegetarian char siu baos, roast pork buns, and you know, they really tasted very close to the originals. All right, so I'm gonna cut these up into slices. So I'm just gonna flatten these up a little bit first. Now you can also use firm tofu, but the thing is, like I mentioned, Chinese vegetarian food has to be very similar to the meat counterpart. So if you look at it, this is very close to meat, while as tofu looks like, you know, tofu. And I'm gonna make this look even more like meat by marinating it with the same ingredients that I use to marinate my real beef chow fun. And just slice it at a diagonal. Just like that, see? Okay, so I just need a tablespoon of light soy sauce. And this is 2 teaspoons of dark soy sauce. It's just gonna give the wheat gluten a slightly darker appearance, which will resemble meat more. And this is 2 teaspoons of Chinese cooking wine. And just a teaspoon of pure sesame oil. Dash of ground white pepper. And finally, just a couple of teaspoons of cornflour, or cornstarch for the folks in the USA and Canada. And we just mix it up, making sure that all the wheat gluten is covered with the ingredient sauces. And that should do it. Now if you look at it, doesn't that resemble like sliced cooked beef? Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so it's gonna set this aside for about 5 minutes. And I forgot to mention, you're gonna need half a cup of bean sprouts, 1 stalk of spring onions. You can also use green onions or garlic chives, just 1 stalk. And about 30 or 40 grams of yellow onions. Just chop it up like so. And you're set. All right, and now time to make the sauce. This is the sauce that's gonna cover all of the ingredients. This is 1 tablespoon of light soy sauce. And this is 2 teaspoons of dark soy sauce. This is gonna give the onions, the hor fun noodles, that really nice dark rich color. And right here I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of oyster sauce. And that's it. Okay, so while my beef is marinating away for a little bit, check it out. It really looks like meat, right? So I'm gonna give you a little bit of the basics of making a really good chow fun. So in Chinese cooking, we have a term called wok-hei. Now wok-hei basically means breath of the wok. Just think about barbecues. Usually we have smoked barbecues, right? And the heat and the smoke gives the ingredients that nice little taste that we all know and love. Now wok-hei is very, very difficult to achieve in your home because it involves a lot of fire. And I mean a lot of fire. No, not that kind of fire, but that is one of like the coolest scenes in like the Game of Thrones. So most Chinese kitchens and the restaurants, they have a really high powered flame. And it is with that flame that works with a well-seasoned wok that creates that taste that we all know and love that we think that we can only find in Chinese restaurants. So yeah, most households don't have that kind of firepower. My stove is actually okay. But there is one way that you can do at home to sort of mimic that smoky charred taste is to do not overfill your cooking utensil. This is a 13-inch well-seasoned wok. Most of us would have about a 13-inch or 14-inch type pan, right? So one important key tip is to never overcrowd your pan by sticking in too many ingredients. You're gonna decrease the heat that your pan is absorbing. That is why I'm only using 250 grams of hor fun noodles, because this is basically gonna take up the most space in the wok, right? And like I mentioned, this will serve about like 1 to 2 person. But if you wanna serve like 2 people, I do not recommend sticking 500 grams of hor fun noodles into a 13-inch or 14-inch pan with a stove that does not have too much heat. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna steam your noodles, you're gonna steam your ingredients, and you know, there's a time and place for steamed food, but stir fries is not one of those times. This is the same for noodles, lo mein noodles, chow mein noodles, so keep that in mind. Okay, now that the short lesson's over, let's start cooking. All right, so I'm gonna heat my wok on a medium heat. So my wok is smoking. I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of oil. Gonna spread the oil around. And I'm just gonna drop in my wheat gluten. And the whole point of doing this is to just add a nice sear and color to my wheat gluten. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna turn off the fire. And check that out. Doesn't that look like real beef? Right? Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so it's time to put the rest of the ingredients together. I'm gonna set my pan on a high heat. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of oil. Spread the oil around. Gonna throw in my hor fun noodles. Let my noodles sit there for about 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and then just mix it around. You want to spread your noodles throughout the pan like that. And once it gets nice and a little brown like that, and that's the smoky char that I want. Toss in my onions. I'm gonna let my onions cook for about 5 seconds. I'm I'm gonna toss in my sauce. Remember, this is a stir fry. You're cooking on high heat, so you gotta be pretty quick. Throw in my quarter cups of bean sprouts, my stalk of spring onion. Mix these around. If your pan gets too hot, just lift it up like that, and I'm gonna turn my heat to a low because we're almost done, and I'm gonna drop in my wheat gluten. Drop these all in and just heat everything through. Okay, now one very important tip. You have to taste your dish. All recipes that you find is just a basic guideline or blueprint, okay? The seasoning that I have is just right for me. I've used it many times, so I know how is it gonna taste exactly. But for you folks at home, if you want a little bit more saltiness, then add more soy sauce, right? But always add a little bit at a time, because it is always easier to add in seasoning ingredients than it is to take out, right? So let's try this vegan beef chow fun dish out. Okay. All right, check that out. All right, take a look at that. All right, take a look at that. Doesn't that look like this is the real deal beef chow fun? And okay, so it's not real beef, but if you look at the wheat gluten that I use as a meat substitute, it looks like real beef, right? And I always like to eat my chow fun or any stir fry noodles with some spicy hot sauce. Give the wheat gluten a try. Not bad. I mean, wheat gluten doesn't really taste like beef, but the thing is that when you chew into it, it sort of has that meaty texture. So me being a meat eater, that's actually quite satisfying. Go to my noodles. My noodles have that nice smoky charred flavor, and you know, I can see myself making this once in a while. So it's a pretty cool dish. Give it a try.